Welcome to the Bespoke unit, and in today's video Charles-Philippe and I are going to be discussing, can you salvage dried out cigars? My name's Paul Anthony.
And I'm CP.
And as we discussed in the intro to this video, we're going to be talking about, can you salvage dry cigars? I think there are two, kind of scenarios that we're going to cover. One, if they've just been sitting out for a few days or weeks, maybe someone forgot to close the humidor lid. I know I've walked out of the house before and left the humidor lid open.
I've done that too, actually.
And then in your kind of personal family scenario, which is a cool story,
yeah, and
it's kind of a work in progress, but
it's a long process. So my grandfather has always been a cigar enthusiast. He's in his 90s now. So he doesn't really smoke. Sometimes I bring him a cheeky Cohiba. He really likes K-Dulcet, but anyway, that's irrelevant. He had a small collection of cigars that pretty much got forgotten about and neglected and left in a box in his study where he does a lot of painting. Quite a warm room. And over the years, because he used to not really collect many, but he'd smoke them quite regularly, because he stopped smoking cigars for a long period, he just kind of left the cigars there. And when I found them, they were all very dry, and I wanted to see if it was possible to maybe revive them and bring them back to life and potentially smoke them, or at least collect them, because they're quite old and interesting cigars. Okay,
so that's two kind of regular scenarios. So I know what I've done before when the cigars have dropped down is to use Boveda packs to come back. But yeah, I mean, I think the important thing to mention in this video, we don't know the extremes. You can try that out. You're testing kind of your extreme scenario, but if these were sitting out in Death Valley for 2 weeks in 100-degree heat with like 0% humidity, then I'm not sure they're going to be salvageable. However, if you guys know to what extremes you can resalvage cigars, some of the other brothers and sisters of the leaf out there that want to comment below on what you want to do, we're just going to cover the kind of scenarios that we're comfortable with where we've actually salvaged cigars. So if I pull up my phone here, I know that outside right now, we're in Philadelphia in November, and it's been raining for 2 days straight, and the outside relative humidity is 97%, and inside the house, according to Sensor Push, the Boveda Butler, the digital hygrometer, and the Sig Saw, the house is about 63–64% RH. So actually, we're not even. You could probably leave them out. You could probably leave them out. But if we were in a scenario where the house was saying the 20–30, especially when we get deeper into the winter, like the air gets very dry here. So what I would probably do, kind of similar to our acclimation video that you'll see kind of extra resources below, is I'd either take an airtight container, whether it's a Boveda humidor bag or say an unused Tupperware that we've got, and I'd put those cigars into that environment, and then I would introduce, probably find out what the relative, try and figure out what the ambient RH was, and then introduce Boveda packs. They make them at 32%, 49%, 58%, 62%, 65%, 69%. So at the moment, as we're at mid-60s, like, I mean, you probably don't need to do much, but just say we were running at, say, 30%, then I might put in a 49 pack. I know Rob Gagne and I from Boveda had a relatively heated discussion. Yeah. And you and I have talked about pros, cons, and again, we haven't really tested it, like, with strong data, but I don't know if I necessarily want to throw the cigars in next to a 69%. His argument is that cigars can only take on so much moisture. They lose moisture quicker than they take it on, but it doesn't matter if you put them in a super humid environment. But my argument is, well, if you throw it in a glass of water, it's going to take on it's going to take on humidity quicker than if you did it regularly. So the debate's out. I'm not trying to throw shade on Rob. It's just interesting to see different people's opinions. But if I was doing this, I would probably notch up the relative humidity I was going for. Again, I wouldn't want to expose it. And I think that's what's nice about Boveda. You can kind of calibrate how much humidity you're gonna, as opposed to just putting a dish of distilled water or gels, where you're gonna get potential. And you want to, I feel you want to bring it back slowly. It's like with leather, when you're softening leather back up, you're doing it, you're re-moistening it, or whether you're like moisturising your hands. It's not. For sure. You can only get so much moisture in at once, and I wouldn't want to crack the wrapper itself. I
mean, sort of Paul pretty much touched on that, talking about distilled water and being able to control this. When I first started, this is a long process now. I've been doing this for probably nearly a year in trying to renovate my grandfather's old cigars. is I first started doing a bit of research online, and I found a guide where somebody recommended this. So you get some sponges and you wet them, soak them in distilled water, then you wring them until they're quite damp. You wrap them in a Ziploc bag that's had holes punched into it. Then you get your old cigars and you put them in a Ziploc bag that has holes punched into it, and then you put both those bags in another Ziploc bag. And I thought, this is a really long-winded way that I get the logic. The idea is you're not going to be exposing the cigars to a lot of humidity, but eventually, I mean, you get zero control really on how to do this. And then when we started, I didn't think of Boveda at the time, but then when we started using Boveda more and more on a daily basis, I realised, well, you said it to me. Actually.
Yeah, I was saying to you. Yeah,
why don't you just use Boveda? Of course,
I think we've both been through the pain points, not just of re-salvaging dried out cigars, but over humidifying, using uncalibrated hygrometers, using crappy wooden humidors. I mean, we've done through all the pressure points and the pain points, and now I know I'm looking for an airtight container or a well-constructed wooden humidor. I'm looking for a calibrated hygrometer, and I'm looking for a very reliable humidification source that doesn't spit out 100% humidity near the source. And what provides that? Airtight containers, a smart hygrometer, and Boveda packs, you know? So that really kind of is the necessary three when storing cigars, you know, if you're a humidor owner. And there's no difference with whether you're acclimating cigars or trying to salvage them. You're really trying to create an airtight container, some way to monitor how that reacclimation's going. So if I put cigars in this end, I might put, you know, a hygrometer at the other end, and once that whole environment then settles out at, say, the 62% that I'm looking for, then I might notch it up to 65 and eventually 69. As for timelines, I'd say you're looking at like 2 to 4 weeks at each stage. That I'd probably look to notch them up. And again, you got to think cost benefit. I know you're trying a cigar out every roughly, you know,
every 3 months at the moment. And
that's a really slow process you're going through.
Very slow, because these cigars, they weren't bone dry in that they were hard. They were still relatively soft, but they were extremely brittle and extremely sensitive. When I took them back in the car from England to France, and I lost a couple on the way just through a couple of bumps on the road, you know. So this is a very long process, and like, as Paul touched on earlier, it takes a very long time to rehumidify cigars, but they can dry out very quickly.
We'll put it below. I know that Rob over at Boveda, they've actually done studies in the lab over there where I think it's 4 or 7 times they can lose moisture quicker than they can reabsorb moisture. So yeah, we definitely have to be careful with that stuff. But I suppose the general theme of the video is one, don't try and let your cigars get too
that's good advice.
And then you're really just kind of following the regular protocol of how to store cigars. And then it's really whether you want to subscribe to the fact that you can plop them in with the RH you're looking for. The one thing you wouldn't want to do is put super dry cigars like this into your stable environment, because this is going to be a shock to the system. It's going to be like jumping in an ice bath, you know, because if these suckers are at like 30% RH and everything's cruising along at 68, these cigars are just going to want to draw moisture out of the wood if you're in a wooden humidor, draw moisture out of other cigars, put a lot of strain on your humidification device. So yeah, definitely want to keep these in a separate environment, can't stress that enough. And then once they're to where you want them to be, then put them into your main storage solution. But yeah, I suppose it's just slow and steady, and maybe test some stuff out. And we would love to hear from you guys to see what you've managed to salvage. Has it really affected the flavor profile? I've heard that you know, some really old cigars lose their body, but they retain their flavor. So how have you seen cigars smoking differently after they've been dried out, rehumidified? Love to hear those kind of comments below, and suggestions, and how you potentially reacclimate or rehumidify cigars. And if you even think it's worth it, maybe you just throw them away and say, look, that race has been run, and let's just not let it happen in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, please comment, please like this video if you liked it. Also subscribe to our channel and turn on that notification button so you'll get notified when we release new content around cigars. Some videos have more of a definitive answer of what's the best, but this is definitely a new learning experience and topic for us. So again, we're all in our journeys here, so constructive comments and suggestions are very welcomed. And with all that being said, my name's Paul Anthony.
I'm CP.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care.